Never waste a good crisis. And when it comes to the economic crisis, don't waste it when it can have a very positive impact.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
The way we're going to win over the long term is not just militarily. We've got to win over hearts and minds. And what that means is we've got to invest in countries that have no educational infrastructure, have no means for young people to get ahead. We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
Stay tuned for politics and religion.
Well, by now you've heard the reports of the flotilla of ships that tried to run the Gaza blockade yesterday. It resulted in about 10 fatalities and many people wounded. When Israel ordered the ships to turn around and to leave, that they were in violation of a blockade, the ships refused to obey, and the result was that Israel decided to board the ships. When Israel decided to board the ships, they were attacked by people on the ships. Israel then responded. Israel went on board with nothing but paint guns because they did not want to be involved in an armed conflagration. However, they did have some sidearms with live bullets that they ended up resorting to when they were fired upon. The details, of course, are sketchy right now. There are charges and counter charges going back and forward. But let's make some sense of all this. What really was going on here? We know that for the last 8 years, there have been lobbed into southern Israel many rockets with bombs. People have been killed. Whole communities have been terrorized. Therefore, Israel went into Gaza and sort of cleaned house back here a little over a year ago. Of course, that's been the subject of much controversy. But the rocket fire slowed down dramatically after that. However, it has been known that there was a full-out attempt to rearm Gaza. The whole goal is to have an arm of Iran, Hamas in the south, an arm of Iran, Hezbollah in the north, so that Israel could be attacked from every direction in the next war, and no one doubts that there is going to be a next war. So Israel said, we cannot allow Hamas to rearm like they did before. We're going to simply forbid them from having rockets because they're in a territory that right now is in the possession of the nation of Israel, even though Israel has backed off and given the Gazans self-rule. So they said, we're not going to allow any more arms, any more rockets, any more explosives in. So they slapped a blockade. They have a blockade in the south, a border between Egypt and Gaza, and also they have the blockade by sea, because if you don't block the sea, then arms can come in unimpeded. So everybody knew that there was this blockade. So this flotilla of ships, mostly made up of Turkish people, decided they were going to run the blockade and force Israel's hand. Well, already Israel, according to the reports, had been in touch with the people that were going to do this. And let me just read it to you because it's very important. Lieberman, who is, of course, the foreign minister of Israel, told the two foreign ministers that though Israel had tried to conduct dialogue with the organizers of the flotilla days before the ships neared Israeli territorial waters, such overtures were rejected. So Israel tried to settle this peacefully, tried to have dialogue. Nothing worked. They were rebuffed. And then the article goes ahead to report, it is clear that the real mission of the flotilla was not to transfer humanitarian aid, which could have entered through the border crossings at Ashdod port. Israel told them, look, if you'll land at Ashdod, we'll inspect for explosives. If there are no armaments there, if there are no explosives there, no rockets on your ships, then we'll let all of the humanitarian aid through. But of course, that wasn't what they wanted. They wanted to try to break the blockade. So, instead, the real mission was to break the naval siege to Gaza. The water siege is not perfect, but it is essential. It is necessary to understand that a breakage of the siege would mean an increase in terrorism and rockets against Israeli citizens. We don't have a choice. If our country needs to protect lives, we must defend ourselves. Now then, the UN Security Council has called for a full investigation. The outcry around the world is condemning Israel because she is unwilling to open herself up to the possibility of importing weapons that can be used against her. I don't know. That seems to make sense to me. Does it make sense to you? Well, this is not certainly the end of this story. This is going to be world headlines for a while yet. Many people believe the 2010 congressional elections will determine whether or not American values will be lost forever. What must happen in order for us to preserve one nation under God? Dr. Michael Kaufman joins us today to discuss his new book, Rescuing a Broken America. Stay tuned for Politics and Religion.
Look, there are two things I don't discuss: politics and religion.
In my house, we don't talk about politics and we don't talk about religion.
I'll talk to you about anything except politics and religion.
I never talk about politics and religion.
Politics determines how we'll live here on earth. Religion determines how we'll live forever. I'm Irvin Baxter. I think it's time we talk about it. We have a special guest on the program today, Dr. Michael Kaufman. He will be joining us in just a few minutes. Until he is online with us, however, there's a couple of very important things to talk about. First of all, you know that Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel was supposed to have met with President Obama today. However, because of the conflagration that took place in the waters of Gaza, he had to head straight home, and he exchanged a phone call with President Obama saying, I hope you understand, but this is quite a crisis, and I have to be with my nation. And Obama certainly concurred with that. So the planned-on talks were not held, and you know that Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinians, also is scheduled to be next week meeting with President Barack